Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I am your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Pacelli?
I spelled your name wrong originally. I said Pacelli. That sounds Eastern European now.
Okay, I can live with that. Yes, I am the guy who recently interviewed Retro Blasting, so I'm feeling pretty good this weekend.
You got the retro blasting high.
I kind of do. Yeah.
Daniel Heron, happy Halloween. Thank you. Happy Halloween to you as well. This will not be a Halloween stream. I originally had the idea of doing a movie rewatch, but I figure I missed 2 weeks already this month, so we're just going to do a straight up new thing. But
fair enough.
Oh, Netters Network with the Hi Sweeties thing. That's awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
She's awesome.
And let's see, deleted scenes. Like, share, and subscribe. Please do. And I should go to the beginning of the chat because that's where you start, at the beginning.
Got Big Al technically first saying have a great stream, Geezers, and wishing everyone a safe and happy Halloween.
I got a hi, sweetie, from Netter. Thank you.
I got to say, but I think Auditor Dread wins the chat today. Good evening, Aged Boomer and Troy Pacelli. You might call yourselves the Geeky Geezers, but I think you are both the Geeky Gentlemen. And I thank you so much for that, Auditor Dread. That is incredibly encouraging. Until Troy drinks a Kraken, then he ain't so gentle. Actually, I think I am. I think I get more mellow with the alcohol.
More mellow, yeah.
I think so.
I love you too, says Troy Pacelli. Thanks. I love myself too.
And I don't slur my words when I drink. It's called speaking in cursive.
Speaking in cursive, okay.
Matanui, of course, who I always love to see in the chat because he is awesomely faithful, and I love how he contributes to the chat. I really do.
Can barely hear most movies. That's because they crank the surround sound up. I have to tell you, Amazon Prime. It's like all the sound effects in the movies are forefront rather than the dialogue. But welcome, Matanui, and I think Horizon Talker was here as well. And hello, the chat. Dropped in to say hi. Going to be absent for a few weeks as theater projects eat up all my weekends. Catch things on the replay. Have a great stream, users. Yeah,
well, I hope to see some videos about what's going on at the theater.
That sounds interesting. Theater productions. Are you going to be in noises off? Have you seen
and Skipper Kenner is popping in from the Firehouse of Love. Hi, everyone. Hey, Skipper Kenner. Hope you can... he's pushing me to release the Kraken. Normally, I don't do that on a Sunday. And if I did, I wouldn't say anything or I'd get in trouble. Shush.
Release the Kraken. Hi, everybody. Hello, Zootopia.
Let's see what else. And then Zootopia.
Okay.
I think we're caught up.
Skipper Kenner. Yes. Okay. All right. We're all good. We're caught up, but there will be now there are new comments to catch up on. So I'll just be doing this all night.
Okay. Just defended the use of the Victory class Star Destroyer in the Empire by mentioning Superman had a use for Green Arrow on Super Friends. Ouch. Okay, but now I want to know what the venue was. Were you like picking on another YouTuber or something like that? I kind of want the backstory on that one, to be honest with you. I did see that. Which YouTuber was it? It was Eckhart's Ladder just did a video about the Victory class, so I'm wondering if you were commenting on his video or something. Just wondering. But that is not what we're talking about tonight, though. What are we talking about tonight, Aged Boomer? Tell me about the good old days.
Well, I remember...
What are we talking about today?
A certain summer in 1977, a certain movie called Star Wars came out.
That's right, it did.
Star Wars. And then a year later, we got Dawn of the Dead, and America got its wake-up call. Dawn of the Dead. Come on. Oh, man. Dawn of the Dead. Let's talk about Dawn of the Dead. I actually wanted to see the 3D version, but tooth problems this weekend, so I didn't get to catch it in theaters.
Yeah, and I totally forgot about it and didn't get around to it myself, because you're right. Dawn of the Dead was released in theaters this weekend in 3D. So if you want to support your local cinema, get out there and check it out. But
if anyone in the chat's seen it, let me know how it was in 3D. I'm curious because
yeah. And Deleted Scenes is 10 subs away from 150. It would be awesome if you're not already subscribed to Deleted Scenes, give him a sub. Just see if we can't get him that little bit closer to his goal. But yes, as Skipper Kenner says, Dawn of the Dead rocks. It was the... Am I correct? This was the first sequel to Night of the Living Dead?
Yes, the first true sequel to Night of the Living Dead.
And if you want to get really, really geeky about this, there was a lot of... And I don't know if Romero himself has ever said this or agreed to it, but there's a lot of commentary that Night of the Living Dead was kind of a commentary in allegory to like the Cold War and to Vietnam and things like that were going on in society. And if that was the case, then Dawn of the Dead is a commentary on the economy situation that we had under Carter, and especially the commercialism of well, I would say the West, but I think specifically in the United States, taking place inside a mall, and the reference to, or the allegory to, if you went to a mall back in the late 70s and early 80s and you just see these consumers just kind of mindlessly going store to store, looking in windows, buying things they didn't need, that was at least part of his inspiration there.
Yeah. I unfortunately did not see this in the theater back then. Did you happen to catch it in the movies when it came out, or were you too young maybe?
I don't know that I was too young. I didn't have a great deal of interest in zombie movies early on in life. I didn't start developing an interest in zombies until I started to think through more this whole undead concept. It started with vampires and then branched out to zombies and whatnot, and the Mummy and all that kind of stuff. Sure. So, yeah.
This movie for me, I had gotten into Romero's. I call it the Living Dead trilogy because it really was a trilogy. You have Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead in the 80s.
Yeah.
I first saw Day of the Dead. I actually got it out from the public library of all places back in the 80s, and I fell in love with that movie. Terrifyingly gruesome film. And then I tracked down Night of the Living Dead, which I guess you could find in any bargain VHS bin even back in the 80s. So I picked that up.
And you know why that is, right?
Because somebody screwed up with the copyright label on the...
So it fell into public domain. So there was a lot of different companies releasing versions of it, and and they were doing it on the cheap.
And if you do buy Night of the Living Dead, please buy the official version. You can get a very nice edition by Criterion right now.
It's also, though, why Romero went ahead and did that remake with Patricia Tallman and Tony Todd, because he kind of, it's kind of fair, kind of deserves to, right?
Now, so Dawn of the Dead. I actually bought the VHS. It was actually put out by HBO Video of all things, and I bought it with Christmas money back in 1989, and I fell in love with this movie. I consider this to be an epic zombie movie. Like, typically horror movies I don't see as having an epic scale to them, but this one kind of does. Starts out in, is it Pittsburgh? I believe.
Well, it was, what was the rate? Yeah, Philadelphia. Philadelphia, because it was WGON TV.
Philadelphia. Yeah, you're right. It is in Philadelphia, and all hell is breaking loose, basically, in the city.
Yeah.
You get this first. It starts out in a newsroom, and you have people yelling on stage about what to do, about what's going on, and this one guy is saying every dead person that does not get destroyed becomes one of them. It gets up and kills. The people it kills get up and killed. You understand?
Right.
And people aren't accepting this on the set. They're like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Because the zombie outbreak that started in the Night of the Living Dead wasn't stopped. It's getting worse. It's spreading all over the place.
Right.
And then we go to a tenement complex. like the projects, and it's
Yeah.
just it's horrible because you have a SWAT team going in there, and one guy's going AWOL, shooting anybody in sight. He has to be stopped, and then you get to the zombies in the apartment building, and you think like one of the worst places
Yeah.
to have a zombie outbreak. It's in one of these horrible buildings, and I remember one scene when the SWAT team goes into the basement. They're like, "Why did they wall this area up?" And one guy busts through, and then all these hands reach out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Freak
Which,
out.
of course, establishes that that's a common zombie trope from there on. In fact, very first episode of The Walking Dead kind of
Sure.
had that kind of a scene. Don't open, dead inside.
Yeah. Except they didn't put the warning on the door in the Dawn of the Dead. They just did it.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the two SWAT team members, one guy is named Peter, and the other guy, hold on. You have Peter, and then you have Roger, and they're like, I can get out of here straight tonight. And then, because they're just figuring, we got to get out of here. Okay, we're not even going to bother sticking with the SWAT team. We got to get out of here. Everything's falling apart. And the one guy, Roger, knows a friend over at the TV station, knows how to fly a helicopter, a television helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And the three of them leave along with, his name is Flyboy, the guy that runs a helicopter. That's his nickname. So his girlfriend leaves with him too, and they're on the run, basically trying to get to safety throughout the zombie apocalypse. And then they finally get to a shopping mall.
Yep. And so one thing I do want to share with the chat, especially because this is Halloween, or tomorrow is actually Halloween. There is this idea of the shopping mall locale for the zombie story very much has become a trope, and I think a good one. And if you've never heard of Jonathan Colton, you need to check out this song that I just dropped the link to, called "Regarding Your Brains." It is a song sung from the point of view of a zombie talking to a friend of his. Hey, Tom, it's Bob from the office down the hall. It's good to see you, buddy. How have you been? Things have been okay for me, except that I'm a zombie now. I really wish you'd let us in. I think I speak for all of us when I say I understand why you folks might hesitate to submit to our demands. But here's an FYI. You're all gonna die screaming. All we want to do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable. I mean, no one's gonna eat your eyes. All we want to do is eat your brains. We're at an impasse here. Maybe we should compromise. If you open up the door, we'll all come inside and eat your brains. And the reason I share that specifically is because there is one verse in this that directly references Dawn of the Dead, where he says, where it is, I don't want to nitpick, Tom, but is this really your plan? Spend your whole life locked inside a mall? Maybe that's okay for now, but someday you'll be out of food and guns. Then you'll have to make the call. I'm not surprised to see you haven't thought it through enough. You never had the head for all this bigger picture stuff. But Tom, that's what I do, and I plan on eating you slowly.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's true because, and like so many zombie tropes, you think about, where am I going to hold up in a zombie apocalypse? And there are great ideas, but the problem is they're all limited by the fact that it is basically a siege prospect to hold up anywhere. Right? Yeah. You want a defensible location, but you also need mobility. And in this case, part of that mobility is what? It's a helicopter. Helicopters have limitations too, because you only have so much gasoline.
Yeah. And there's a wonderful scene where they stop for gasoline, and they like, and then of course there's a zombie attack while they're trying to fill up the copter.
Exactly.
It's just, let me see. We got some comments there. Let me see. My favorite is still Night of the Living Dead of the three. A lot of people do like Night best. I sympathize. I've alternated between all three. I think Dawn of the Dead is finally my favorite though, but I love Day of the Dead and I love Night of the Living Dead as well. The remake is actually one of Zack Snyder's films. People are very split on Dawn of the Dead fans. Like it's like half of them love the remake and half of them don't. So I fall in the camp where I'm kind of a stickler for the original.
It is a different kind of situation where you have a remake of Night of the Living Dead that you can kind of forgive for, you know, the rights issue and Romero deserving, you know, the royalties. But after that, a lot of people are like, well, why remake a classic, right? Well, I don't know. In for a penny, in for a pound, maybe. You remake one, you should remake them all. I don't know. But it's gotten so crazy. We joke about Halloween becoming a choose-your-own-adventure franchise. None are as choose-your-own-adventure as the Night of the Living Dead subsequent sequels. You got the Living Dead, you got the Dead series, you've got
Return of the Living Dead.
So many other remakes and unauthorized sequels, and you know, of varying quality. Yeah, World War Z was not handled the way I would have liked to have seen it handled myself.
I am going to say this though. Even if I want to pick on the Dawn of the Dead remake, I can't really, because if it wasn't for the Dawn of the Dead remake, Universal put that out. Universal then went to George Romero and allowed him to do his fourth Living Dead movie, which was Land of the Dead. So
Right.
we might not have seen that if not for the Dawn of the Dead remake anyway.
There you go. That's true.
But
Skipper Kenner said, I'm hanging out at McDonald's. Zombies hate fast food. Skipper Kenner, you are their fast food, and you've just gone someplace with a drive-through.
That sounds like something out of Zombieland, what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Dawn of the Dead, though.
That's a good one, too, actually, as zombie films go.
I'll say this, though. The four survivors in Dawn of the Dead, I love all four characters in this movie. Rewatching the movie each time is like revisiting old friends. And it's funny how some characters you think are cool and collected, and then they are not so, like by the midpoint. Another guy I didn't like at the beginning, actually ended up really liking him by the end of the movie, Flyboy. I didn't like him at the beginning. By the end, I'm kind of on Flyboy's side. Peter's the collected one, and what's the woman's name? Hold on.
You know,
Fran, yes.
Yeah. Fly Girl, as I recall. That was hers, yeah. Auditor Dread says perhaps Antarctica would be an option for holding up during a zombie apocalypse. Zombie corpses would freeze due to the climate, but you're also exposed to the elements. Now, this is an interesting point. This is, again, somebody showing some perspicacity and thinking through the ecology of the zombie, right? They are literally animated walking corpses, right? Should they not be subject to the elements the way a corpse would? And that is the problem that we didn't see, although there was lip service given to it in the Walking Dead series, that different climates had different issues and so forth. But no, I just don't buy it. If you have a winter that with freezing temperatures, that zombie is gonna freeze. Maybe he's not, dead. Maybe he's alive and frozen solid, but nonetheless, he should not be able to move. And further, you go a couple of seasons, eventually that zombie becomes nothing more than a skeleton with nothing to animate it anymore.
Yeah,
I would love to see a movie that dealt with that. And I thought that the 28 Days Later was going to do that, where you start to see the zombie problem has resolved itself because all the initial zombies have rotted away and died.
Right.
And all of the new zombies, there are now protocols in place for dealing with death in hospitals and so forth, mortuaries and whatnot, deal with things differently because bodies can reanimate, so you almost never have the rare outbreak of the Walking Dead anymore. That would be an interesting story. So, hey, anyone in Hollywood, I give that one to you guys for free just because I'd like to see that story.
I didn't watch the whole series, but I did watch season 1 of Z Nation on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, I never even heard of that one.
That was kind of interesting because it was around the same time as The Walking Dead, and it was more of a B movie version, even from The Walking Dead. But the
It
interesting
sounds like it since it was sci-fi, right?
yeah, but the interesting thing is that the group of survivors, I think at some point they end up in contact with an army official, and I think he's stuck out in Antarctica or someplace like that, like in a wintry climate, but he's able to communicate them like through satellites and computers they have at this leftover station, but he's the only one left there, so he's all alone, right?
Right.
And it's kind of funny because he's like a Tobey Maguire looking guy too, and he's like, and like he has a crush on one of the female survivors in the group, and he's
Yeah.
with her and stuff, and he's stuck there all by himself. It was kind of an interesting series, and I don't know how it resolved itself later seasons, but I did like that first season of it that I saw.
Yeah,
but,
and Matanui pointed out that.
Hello, is that you or me? Hello. Hello?
28 days later, connection. Are you still there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. My internet glitched out.
Could have been me. I don't know.
No, it was me.
Okay. But we lost Troy. Oh, that's what happened. The zombies got Troy. Very funny. Netter said she'd hold up at the Winchester.
And wait for this whole thing to blow over. I like the way Netter thinks.
I have to say, though, actually, that almost reminds me of Shaun of the Dead when they were in the bar, right?
That was the Winchester. That's what she's referring to, yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah. I have to tell you, though.
So, Skipper Ken, are you saying because I'm not drinking, I'm not connected, I should take a Kraken? He's such an instigator.
That was funny in Romero's Diary of the Dead, which was like a found footage zombie movie.
Yeah.
The professor in the whole movie is always drunk. He's always drinking. And I'm like...
Yeah.
And normally I would yell at someone for being like that, but in a zombie apocalypse, I don't blame someone for taking.
Kind of don't blame him. Yeah, exactly.
But no, Dawn of the Dead, though. I don't want to spoil it for any of you that haven't seen it. I think it is in theaters this weekend. I don't know if it's still playing tomorrow night or not. I'm expecting it should get a Blu-ray release at some point. It did get a Blu-ray release early on. Actually, that's something I want to touch on briefly, actually, about Dawn of the Dead. There are different cuts of this movie. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised at all.
Because Jerry Argento, he funded, he did a lot of the funding for the movie with Romero, but basically the deal was Jerry Argento gets final cut of the European version of the movie.
Yeah.
Romero,
my understanding was that Argento was a big fan of the Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why he funded it, because they were having a hard time getting funding.
And it's fascinating because the cuts are different. I guess what I would call Argento's cut with the European cut versus the American cut, because they're different scenes.
Yeah.
Because Romero, he must have shot a ton of scenes for this thing. Like there's one scene where Flyboy and Peter are having an argument, and Peter says, like, Flyboy's like, they're so stupid. I don't understand. They're not going to take over. And then Peter says, they have one advantage over us. And what's that? They don't think.
Yeah.
I guess he's trying to further the pure instinct.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the ad campaign.
Well, and this is something that, and some of the best use of zombies in Dungeons and Dragons games that I've played were playing with that whole concept of just sheer numbers, right? Because when you are a higher level character in Dungeons and Dragons, you encounter 4 zombies and there's 4 of you and you're all like 8th level warriors and wizards. It's like, this is nothing. When you break through the door and there are thousands of zombies, the whole town has turned into zombies, and they're, okay, well, how many fireballs do we have? Okay, that took out a few. Now there's more coming to take their place. What do we do?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's like, of course, that's the numbers. It's funny. That was a premise of an actual anime series called Goblin Slayer, where the one guy makes a point, I'm the Goblin Slayer, and everybody laughs because, you run into goblins are like lower level monsters in this fantasy world. It's like, you just kill them. It's not the one goblin you have to worry about. It's when they get organized. It's when there are hundreds of them. You understand? He's trying to make a point that they actually are very dangerous. They're not dangerous like one by himself is not dangerous, but it's when you run into them in their habitat, or when you run into them in large groups, then they're as awful as a dragon. I mean, well,
and it's interesting because that whole concept of that whole battle scene in Starship Troopers where the insects are, trying to they're trying to defend the fort against this onslaught of insects, and they're just coming, just wave after wave, all the way out to the horizon. It's like, yeah, and I think that's what they were going for with World War Z, but not very well. Although I like Skipper Kenner and the way he thinks alcohol kills germs, therefore Kraken is healthy.
There you go. I need to read World War Z. I've heard good things. I did see the movie. Peter Capaldi was in it. That was interesting.
Was he? Yeah. Yeah, I heard good things. In fact, I even think I have a copy of the book around here and haven't read it.
It's supposed to be very good. They're like,
yeah.
it's like a segmented story. I've been meaning to read it. I just haven't gotten around to it. I know that Mel Brooks' son wrote it.
Oh,
Matt Brooks, right? Yeah, which is interesting. But after Land, I haven't seen other Romero Dead movies. I liked Diary of the Dead, which was the found footage one, though some people hated it. And Survival of the Dead, I don't think anybody liked that one. That was his last movie. I think he was being a little too on the nose with some of the political commentary there. It's like, but I'm trying to think though. Let me see. Troy, you don't have to. I'll loan you mine. It is perfection. Okay.
There you go.
But I'm just trying to think though. But no, Dawn of the Dead. If you've never seen a zombie movie, that wouldn't be a bad place to start. It's an amazing. It's very 1970s. So you're going to see some 70s hairstyles and fashions.
Yeah.
But it's very creepy.
And don't get too caught up on not having seen Night of the Living Dead first. They take place
in the same universe,
kind of simultaneously. So
yeah, this is like a few weeks out.
It's kind of the nice thing about it is none of the characters carry over, so nobody from this group has any idea what happened in the other group, so you can jump in at any point. That's why I'm kind of surprised we haven't even gotten more films in that universe, because you could do tons and tons of stories all taking place simultaneously.
Well, I think that was the idea they had with all Walking Dead and all the spin-off series they're doing, which, I know. Well, the trouble with... I think that's part of the problem with zombie movies, though. I think
these things work better as movies than as series. Let's put it that way.
I think they work better as just things that don't keep going on. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Dawn of the Dead ends, and it's like, I forgot what the last chapter was called in the DVD, but it's like...
there really has to be... and let's face it, most zombie films end with some sort of a bleak ending, right? Like, the zombies are going to win, everyone's going to die. All these characters that you followed along, you got to the last one, you thought they were going to survive. Nope, they're not. They're going to die too. Or... if it's something like 28 days later or 28 weeks later or whatever, eventually you get to a point where, well, we've made it past. We are going to survive. Most everyone we knew died, but the human race is going to survive. We just got to rebuild. There's got to be that ending, right? It can't go on indefinitely.
You get neither with Dawn of the Dead. You get kind of something in between.
Right.
It was originally supposed to be a much darker ending, but Romero decided to dial that back a bit. So it's like... I forgot what the name of the chapter. I think it's like a journey to who knows where. It was something like that, and it's like you don't know. Maybe they will survive. Maybe they won't survive. You don't know. But
that kind of reminds me of, and especially as we're coming up on Christmas. If you want to talk zombies, we can't do zombie Christmas without. Oh, damn it. What was the name of that one that Netter and I watched that she liked so much? Someone or other, take on the apocalypse or something like that. If Big Al is here, he'll remember. But it was the zombie musical that takes place at Christmas.
Anna and the Apocalypse.
Anna and the Apocalypse. That's right. And at the very end, Anna and one of her friends.
Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. You're on the 30-second delay, so we got it already. Thanks. But they survive and they drive off, but you get the distinct impression that they're probably not going to make it, right? They leave you with the possibility that, yeah, they're going to survive, but where are they going to survive and how, and is any place safe? And, there's no such thing as a Hollywood ending. So
Yeah, well, I am going to say this. He's mentioning how most zombie stories tend to go the route of man being the root monster. Yeah, sometimes. I mean, in Dawn
true.
of the Dead, the big adversary beyond the zombies is this very nasty biker gang they run into at the end. But
Right. Right.
it's this
Right.
huge, like a professional army that's been living on the road in this whole thing. And it's interesting to see that conflict unfold too. I don't want to say anything more about the movie for those of you who haven't seen it. It is a true classic. Watch all of the Living Dead movies. At least watch the first three. And Day of the Dead, I can say stuff about that. Maybe that'll be next year or another time.
There you go.
But Dawn of the Dead, still a classic. Keep an eye out. I expect since it's finally gotten its theatrical re-release, we may see a Blu-ray announcement for over here. Those
That
of
would
you
be
who have
nice.
already got a very nice Blu-ray set of it out. But we'll see if it comes out, gets a re-release over here. And it has a great score by the Italian prog rock band Goblin, which is worth hearing too. Very creepy, but also has kind of that 70s prog rock feel to it as well.
Yep.
So speaking of the dead, I'm sorry, that's bad.
It's true. We do have to get to our usual in memoriam section.
Oh my goodness! You sent this to me, and I hate to say, my first instinct my first answer was that I didn't know he was still alive.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too about it was he had been a news piece had come out earlier in the week that he had passed, and the fact was he was technically still alive, but yeah, he eventually then did pass. So a lot of times when you see some of these, nope, they're not dead yet. Well, give them a week or two. They're holding on. But rock pioneer Jerry Lee Lewis, singer of Great Balls of Fire, dead at 87.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a living legend. Definitely him.
Yeah.
I'll read a little bit from the article.
Sure.
Singer pianist Jerry Lee Lewis, the hell-raising, larger-than-life rock and roll pioneer and latter-day country star, has died, according to a representative, Zach Farman. He was 87. His death had erroneously been reported by some outlets on Wednesday. Judith, his seventh wife, was by his side when he passed away at his home in DeSoto County, Mississippi, south of Memphis. Farnham's statement said he told her in his final days that he welcomed the hereafter and that he was not afraid. Lewis, an inaugural inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1986, a 2005 recipient of the Recording Academy Lifetime Achievement Award at the age of 86, a 2022 inductee of the Country Music Hall of Fame, was a powerhouse keyboardist, mercurial vocalist, and rampaging, unpredictable showman who could master virtually any song, be it rock and roll, country, rhythm and blues, or gospel, or pop.
Yep.
Okay. He
was a genius on the piano. I mean, he was just absolutely incredible. Known as the Killer, colloquially. Very controversial in his early years. He married his underage cousin as his first wife. So yeah, and there was a lot of dust up and to do about that. Nowadays, people are like, whatever. The parents approved and were okay with it, and cousin, what's cousin, whatever, But yeah.
Seven wives though, huh?
Well, when you get married young in weird circumstances like that, you kind of figure, this is how it's going to go, right? Not to mention, he was a pop rocker and ran around with some crazy crowds, So yeah, not a big surprise there. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he one of the performers that just by luck of the draw was not on the plane that Richie Valens was on, and therefore survived? Yeah. Now
I'm thinking of Bring Out Your Dead scene from Monty Python. I'm not dead yet. You're not fooling anyone. Oh,
right.
But yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis, he'll be remembered.
Yep. But yep, and the same year, it's kind of funny because he died at 87. Our next in memorial is also 87. They were born the same year. Jules Bass, producer and director, known for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman.
The Bass from Rankin and Bass.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I'll read a bit from this. Jules Bass, the animator, producer, director, and composer, whose work included stop-motion holiday television specials like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, and Santa Claus is Coming to Town, died at age 87 on Tuesday at an assisted living facility in Rye, New York. Publicist Jennifer Fisherman Ruff confirmed. The three prominent holiday specials, Rudolph, voiced by Burl Ives, Frosty, starring Jack Vernon and Jimmy Durante, and Santa Claus, voiced by Fred Astaire and Mickey Rooney, all debuted during the 1960s and 1970s. In the decades since, the specials have become staples of seasonal holiday programming on television.
They sure have, yeah.
Bass was known for his long-standing creative partnership with director Arthur Rankin Jr., who died in 2014 at 89. The two pushed many productions through their banner Rankin Bass Productions, which was known for its laborious cel-animated stop-motion films that took long periods of time to turn into full-length features. All right.
Yeah, and what is kind of sad, although I suppose the timing makes it that much more noteworthy. We're going into the holiday season. Tomorrow is Halloween, and there are Rankin Bass specials for all these holidays. For there was the Mad Monster Party or something like that.
That was a feature film, I believe, but I actually have that on my Vudu, Mad Monster Party. That was a fun one. That was a
for Halloween and whatnot.
Oh yeah, Boris Karloff was in that.
Boris Karloff, yes, absolutely, playing well. And that was the other thing too, right? A lot of these specials had at least one character whose the puppet was voiced by and made to look like that individual. So you mentioned Jimmy Durante. Of course, the character he's playing is drawn to look exactly like Jimmy Durante and so forth. But they did Halloween. They did one for Thanksgiving. They let's face it, they did one Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July or something, and that was like, that takes place. I think that involved time travel, and they hit all the holidays.
Did they do Jack Frost?
They did two different Jack Frosts. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they did. They did one that was Jack Frost and it was about him, but they also used that same Jack Frost character as a villain in one of the other stories. Yeah, they did a lot of Frosty and Rudolph because that was kind of a moneymaker for them. So they kept kind of going back to that. Well, Rudolph and Frosty's Shiny New Year or something like that, or maybe it was just Rudolph's Shiny New Year or something, where they deal with the whole baby New Year and whatnot. The holiday season was for me growing up in the 70s very much all about Rankin and Bass, and it hurts, but that the other one has gone now too. So there you go.
I wish they still made specials like these.
Oh no, they have to deconstruct it, and they got to make them bleak, and they've got to completely undermine the family if they're going to do any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think of Rankin Bass specials and Peanut specials. That's what I think of. Yeah,
absolutely right. No doubt about it.
Different animal altogether, but yeah, what a shame with Bass. Yeah.
No, yeah, very different animal. You're right, but still so much a part of my growing up and the holiday memories for me. Which is why I have all of these things on physical media, so that I don't have to worry about what paywall they decide to put it behind. I've got it right here. I can put it in anytime. Hell, I could even watch it in the middle of the year if I want to.
In the middle of the year? Did he ever do a New Year's special, Rankin Bass?
Yeah, I was just saying they did Rudolph's Shiny New Year, where he's got to go track down the baby New Year who ran away because he was embarrassed by his giant ears.
I can imagine, and it's just, your ears are so big, and he's crying, and the little tears that come out that are all fake.
Exactly, and of course Rudolph's like, I used to have the same problem. People used to pick on me about my nose, and then they kind of do a, remember, kind of, what do you call it? Retell the story, go back and tell his story in brief. And he's like, see, I understand, but, I realize that, when I see your it turned out my nose was my superpower and it was able to help people. He says, your ears are good too, because they make people happy and they make them laugh, and they're not really laughing at you. They're just full of joy because of it.
Yeah.
And it's really, really a cool little story.
Well, rest in peace. Sorry, hold on. Rest in peace, Arthur Rankin and
Jules Bass. Absolutely.
Yes. And speaking of big ears,
actually, you're right.
Tim Burton says he's done making Disney movies, calls company a horrible big circus. And as we all know, Tim Burton had directed the live action Dumbo that had come out, which I keep wanting to talk to people about, but nobody seems to want to watch that movie.
Honestly, I haven't seen it. Yeah, I have no interest. And honestly, that has nothing to do with Tim Burton. It has everything to do with Disney. I just don't care about live action remakes, and so
This
don't
was a bizarre
watch them.
one, because I've often argued the villain in it, I'm sorry, is based on Walt Disney himself. It's like an evil version of Walt Disney, played by Michael Keaton, except that it's more like the theme park version of Walt Disney when he was into making the theme parks.
Yep.
That's sort of what they have in this. But, okay, anyone hoping for a sequel to Tim Burton's Dumbo shouldn't hold their breath. Speaking at the Lumiere Festival in Lyon, after receiving the Prix Lumiere, Burton revealed the 2019 film likely marked the end of his long-running creative relationship with Disney via Deadline. He began his career as an animator at Disney before Warner Brothers hired him to make his live-action directorial debut on Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I love that movie.
That might be a good old days coming up. We have to talk Pee-wee's Big
Sure.
Adventure. He returned to work with Disney on films like Ed Wood, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Alice in Wonderland, Frankenweenie, and most recently, Dumbo. Burton believes that the entertainment landscape has shifted to the point where it no longer makes sense for him to collaborate with the entertainment giant. He explained that his experience working on Dumbo made him realize that Disney had gotten too big for him. My history is that I started out there, Burton said. I was hired and fired like several times throughout my career there. The thing about Dumbo is that why I think my days at Disney are done. I realized that I was Dumbo, that I was working in this big, horrible circus and I needed to escape. That movie is quite autobiographical at a certain level. Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like people like Tim Burton and so many other successful writers and directors, from the past couple decades, need to take their success and turn it into entrepreneurship. I think we need to see more of these great talents go out there and start making independent films where they don't have to answer to, the big studios anymore.
Burton could do it, I think. It's funny. It actually shows, in many respects, how things have changed. I remember just reading a synopsis of the movie Stay Tuned, and when Stay Tuned was being made, they originally were trying to seek out Tim Burton, but I think he got hired to do Batman Returns at that point. But the point is, in the old days, auteur directors were highly sought out. They were sought out as certain actors were sought out. This was a big deal to get Tim Burton to direct your movie, whether it be Batman or No, he didn't do Addams Family, but you know what I mean.
Right, I know what you mean.
Or Beetlejuice or something along those lines. And nowadays, I don't know what Disney is doing. I mean, I heard Pinocchio was a disaster, but that was directed by Robert Zemeckis. He used to be a big deal too. Remember that was.
Well, a lot of these, as you say, big deals are getting a little annoyed at the constraints they are put under by these big studios. And honestly, that's a big part of why so many of these films are crap these days. And you go, man, so and so made so much better movies. That classic one that I love so much was so great. They've fallen so far. No, they haven't. They could still be making great stuff if they were just given free reign to do what they do. but they're not. You know?
Yeah. So,
and it comes down to, I think a lot of these people are saying, fine, if that's how you want to make your movies by committee, then just, put some nobody in place and someone that will make happen what you say you want to make happen. You don't need me.
They've been doing that increasingly over there at Disney. I mean, they've been hiring directors I've never heard of before, and I'm not even saying that these people are necessarily.
And we'll definitely be getting into that with our next story. Absolutely. Okay.
But good on Burton. I wish him luck making movies elsewhere. It'd be great if they hired him just to do another. They won't hire him to do another Batman movie, but they won't do that probably.
But that's Warner Brothers, so maybe, who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows? Okay. Who knows what they're planning to do over at Warner Brothers? We'll be talking more about that in a bit. But right now, speaking of nobodies that you've never heard of being given big movie deals, secret writer. Oh, and this is an exclusive from the Hollywood Reporter. A secret writer's room. A rising scribe and a post-Skywalker timeline. A look inside Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie. So Damon Lindelof. Let's talk a little bit about him.
It's Lindelof.
Whatever, who gives a crap? He's a hack and he's not worth my time. He is a devotee of bad reboot Jar Jar Abrams. He is you know his work from Lost, and what else has he done?
Star Trek Into Darkness. He wrote that.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So he's a screaming Khan. So
in other words, he's really, really successful. He deserves to take on the Star Wars mantle. So he's gonna be what? Producing a film written by a guy named Justin Britt Gibson. What has Justin Britt Gibson done? Anyone?
I don't know.
Exactly. Nobody knows. I looked him up on IMDb. He's done some TV shows. And nothing that I've even ever frickin' heard of. Yeah, that's brilliant. Star Wars is struggling, so let's give a movie deal to this unknown writer. That's just friggin' brilliant.
Lindelof did, I think, write Prometheus, yes. The alien prequel thingy. Yeah.
Okay, so he's got a history of running franchises into the ground. That's brilliant. He's just the guy to bring Star Wars back for us, right? And again, this is something that's supposed to be set after the failed sequel trilogy that they haven't even touched since the last one. Yeah, no, I don't see it happening. Now, this is why... Well, and there's been talk about that. Might they? I don't know. We'll see. And there's a lot of questiony type of stuff.
It'll be the stinger at the end after the credits, and you see Ray pop up. It's because that's what we've been waiting for Ray to finally show up for 5 seconds in a stinger at the end of whatever.
Yeah, right. And she would do it too, because what the hell else has she done? Seriously, I mean, has she been in anything since then? I mean. Not that anyone gives a crap, but you know what? Before I get to my next point about this, I want to drop this other article because then we find out who they're planning on as a director for this one, right? Let me drop this for you. There we go. Directed by Ms. Marvel's Charmine Obad. I don't give a crap what her name is, okay? I mean, I've heard good things about Ms. Marvel. It's the best of what's come out of Marvel this past year. That's not really a high friggin' bar, right? Sorry, this is not what I'd call a winning threesome here. But let's bring this back to what I was getting at with, do they really want to continue with the failed trilogy? And look at the outlets. This was Hollywood Reporter and this is Deadline. Okay? None of this is an official Disney release. This isn't something that came out from their earnings call or, a big publicity thing or anything. This is another one of those leaked to the press exclusive things. That means Disney is not endorsing this. This is coming from, let's just say, somebody at Disney, without getting into, all the rumor mill behind the scenes. But who's in charge of Lucasfilm? Okay, I mean, it should go without saying, right? The same person who, when her contract was renewed, wasn't announced by Disney. She had her minions in the media announce it.
For like 5 years, it was like some number that we think wasn't supposed to be the originally announced number, but
exactly. And didn't her right hand chick just quit? So things are going on at Lucasfilm, and this just smacks of a death knell, last hurrah, trying to drum up, please save our jobs. All of our legions of fans on Twitter who don't buy our products and don't go to see our movies, But this is why. Actually, I guess I should drop the next link, right? Because this brings us into Lucasfilm. Here, hold on a second. Let me drop this. I got to do it in two parts because these web addresses are just too big. Go ahead, yeah.
Auditor Dread says, Prometheus suck. You had Charlize Theron get run over by a space donut. Yeah, that kind of happened in that movie, didn't it?
Actually, he's not wrong with that, right?
Run to the right, you dumb bitch. I'm sorry. That was funny.
And Lucasfilm,
I was desperate to like.
Lucasfilm and Walt Disney Company accused of using bots to defend Star Wars. And this article from Bounding into Comics brings the friggin' receipts. When you got 4 different Twitter accounts dropping identical comments, it's bots. And it's not anything that anyone didn't already know. This is not shocking. This is not, big reveal, right? We knew this. And this is why so many people in the industry, all the financial people, are saying, quit paying attention to social media. That's all bullshit. All of those voices are nobodies. When there's a picture of a frog and their name is XYZ123, whatever, with totally their legitimate. with the Ukrainian flag and the rainbow flag, these aren't real people. These are bots. These are people that sit at their computers with multiple accounts, building up the things that they love, but they're not even going to buy the toys, and they're just pushing an agenda. And we've seen it over a decade now of these things being pushed and nobody going to see them. And these companies are going, you have a fiduciary duty to pay attention to what actually makes money, not this bullshit on the internet. But here's the proof that these are actually freaking bots. And again, whether it's politics or movies or whatever it is, nobody is surprised by this. Social media is not the real world. It just isn't. Leave it alone. And another thing, all of this stuff about a post Rise of Palpatine movie, the mainline fan community isn't even buying it. I just dropped a link to a video from what was this one's Eckhart's Ladder? I forget. I'm sorry. Let me check it out real quick. This is I'm sorry.
If you want.
This is my this is me being super professional. This is Eckhart's Clips. It's Eckhart's Ladder. He's a great commenter on Star Wars and Star Wars lore and Star Wars news, and he tends to be very, very even-handed. And even he is like, yeah, we've heard this kind of stuff before. It kind of smacks of bullshit. He doesn't, of course, use that language. He's very more even-handed than I am. But yeah, no, nobody is buying this stuff. And if you don't have enough evidence to buy it, now look, I'm going to say you may very much like what's recently come out of Star Wars, the recent Disney Plus shows, but friend of the channel, Valiant Renegade, had a great commentary that was picked up by Bounding Into Comics, where he cites the numbers, he brings the receipts, and Andor isn't even on the radar of Nielsen rating. Didn't even make the top 10. Even the Rings of Power, which are universally panned, did better than Andor. Now, if you come to me and tell me, but Andor was good, I enjoyed it, that's even worse. Because that tells me there's good Star Wars and people have lost interest.
What's the old expression I keep hearing people say? You don't get punished for your sins, you get punished for your mistakes. And
yeah.
I wonder if Andor is facing the brunt.
The biggest sin is boring me. That is the problem. And even the best Disney Plus Star Wars are too long. They are series that should have been movies. Andor probably could have been reduced down to a movie. I said this about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
There's a lot of streaming shows actually I've been watching lately, even like this one I watched on AMC Plus. I'm like, this could have been cut down to a 2-hour movie and make it enjoyable. And it's like they stretched. I feel like these are all stretched out
because they haven't learned how to. It's not just enough to put out content. You've got to think through your medium, right? And I hate to sound like that crazy. What's his name? The guy that wrote The Watchmen. You know who I mean?
Yeah. Lindelof, he did the Watchmen HBO show.
No, not the movie.
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore, thank you. Yeah. Alan Moore, who says, look, I write for a particular medium. It should not be translated to another medium. And it's true. Certain things work better as a series. Other things should be a movie. And, when I look at Obi-Wan Kenobi and I look at that Patterson cut fan edit, I'm like, okay, this would have made a pretty good movie. It wasn't great. It wasn't a story that we needed to see. But if you're going to do it, make it a freaking 2.5 hour movie. You didn't need this stretched out, over-bloated, thing. Book of Boba Fett. Everyone said, it was okay, but the pacing was terrible. Yeah, the pacing was terrible. You should have cut it down. You could have done without the slow-paced, speeder chase through the streets. That was, just freaking boring on Vespas, space Vespas. I mean, there was a lot of bloat that didn't need to be there. Get to the point. Tell the story,
Well, here's what I don't understand. Even if they were going to do movies, why not just do a made-for-Disney Plus movie that's 2 hours? Wouldn't that get more traction if it was well done than the whole series?
Because they're trying and obviously failing to get watch time. See, that's what it's coming down to. And Valiant Renegade makes a great point from a fiscal standpoint. Okay? We have been lied to, and we've talked about it on this channel many times. We are being lied to by these studios because they don't have any accountability. They can tell you this is the best series ever because the numbers are so great and we have so many, and they're effing with the numbers. They have a bunch of viewers out there that get Disney Plus for free when they signed up for their cell phone or because they were leaving Hulu and they said, wait, if you come back, we'll give you Hulu and Disney for, a package deal or whatever. So they're basically getting Disney Plus for free. And if they watch, they watch. If they don't, they don't. But this is the key. And we're going to talk more about the numbers and streaming when we get to our last article of the night. But suffice it to say that this age of being able to hide the numbers is changing because now in order to keep the revenue coming in. They hit saturation, and we predicted this a couple of years ago. There's only so many people that are going to subscribe to, let's just say, Disney Plus, right? You can't subscribe to everything. Nobody has the money to subscribe to Netflix and Disney Plus and premium version of Peacock and Hulu and Amazon Prime. All of them. You can't do it. So what you do is you go, which one has a show I really like? I really like that karate one, the Cobra Kai. I'm going to subscribe to that one.
Or people may like something on HBO Max.
And I'll watch it for a month or two and binge it, and then when I'm done, I'll drop it, and then I'll go to something else. And that's not a good way to maintain revenue. You want to know how you maintain revenue? The model has existed for a long time. It's existed in radio. It existed with network television. It happened with cable, and now you're going to see it coming to streaming, and that's advertising. You're going to get it for a minimum fee, or you're going to get it for free or whatever, and it's the advertisers that are going to pay for it. But what comes with advertisers? They want to see the watch time. They want to see the numbers. And if the numbers aren't there, they're not going to invest in it, and that show is going to go bye-bye. Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Question, though. I'm going to say this. Lucasfilm does not strike me as being in great shape right now.
Nope.
Let's say, how would you fix Lucasfilm? I have my own ideas, but I'm kind of curious as to what
I'd start by firing everybody in Lucasfilm and bring back the talent. And this is cookie cutter. I would do this with Marvel Studios. I would do it at Warner Brothers. I would do it at all the studios. They have pushed out. We were just talking about Tim Burton. They are pushing out the talent. Get the talent back in. Pay for the talent and let them do what they do best. And hold them to it. If their movie doesn't succeed, thank you. Goodbye. You don't burn your bridge, but you don't have them back.
So currently, we're thinking about the general audience. The general audience, like, I know that they're the fans, but the fans I don't think make up the majority of the revenue, right? Or always. I mean, it's usually the fans help propel the general audience into watching things. Like, if the fans like it, then maybe the general audience piques their interest. What do you think? Because I would argue
that in 1977,
everybody was a fan of Star Wars.
It was the general audience that became the fans, right? There were no Star Wars fans before 1977. Okay? So this whole concept of separating the fans from the general public, I think, is a misnomer. Right. Okay? You don't abandon the fans for some fictional new group of fans or for the general public that's not fans. You keep the fans and add new fans. You add. You never subtract. ABC, always be closing. Coffee is for closers. And that's what you need to do with Star Wars. You need and you need to do it with Star Trek, and you need to do it with Marvel. You got to go, we got to take this seriously. We got to take the canon seriously. We got to take the fan feedback seriously. And if we do a good enough story that the fans enjoy, they'll bring their wives, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, their children. They will hand it off to the next generation. We will have a new generation of fans. I saw it happen with Skipper Kenner and his boys. I wasn't a huge fan of the prequels, but his boys were. Why? Because he took them to see it. He bought them the toys. They shared it. And to this day, they're still Star Wars fans. But they have the same problems that we do with the sequel trilogy. They broke that cycle. They had the momentum, and they literally kicked the dominoes out of the way.
They did that, and then they were starting to get that momentum back with The Mandalorian, and then that got kicked
But
out.
then the infighting starts and stuff. Look, it's what it comes down to. It's what it comes down to is put up or shut up, okay? If you succeed, you are the person who's got the power, Okay? And if you don't succeed, you're out the door. That's what Chapek said was going to happen, and I haven't seen him do it yet. It was 2 years ago. He said, okay, everyone's going to be on a revolving door. You're going to get 2-year contracts, and at the end of that 2 years, we will evaluate how you've done. That has not actually happened yet. Yes, maybe it's starting to happen, but it took way too damn long. When you say it, you do it. You don't say it and then wait 3-4 years to implement it.
So, I don't know if I was running Lucasfilm right now or put in charge.
Yes, Auditor Dread. Eventually, I will be doing a Glenn Ross watch party. Eventually.
Oh man, I want to be there for that.
Coffee is for closers. Even Netter loves that whole scene.
Oh, I have so much to say about that movie. It's not even funny. Anyway, what was I going to say though? Let's get back to Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
I think at this point, especially hearing about Andor, I think they got to shelve Star Wars projects for about 10 years.
I don't know if I'd say 10 years, but at least a couple years.
I think the public has to forget all the bullshit, basically. And I think what they should do is focus on other properties Lucasfilm owns. Believe it or not, Lucasfilm owns a lot more than just Star Wars and Indiana Jones. For instance, they're doing a Willow series, and
which is probably going to suck too, because it's still the same Lucasfilm.
It would be funny if they would just let the creatives do their best job.
Let's remember how good Willow was, though. This Saturday over on Big Al Presents, we'll be doing a watch party.
A rewatch of Willow. And there's no reason why this Willow show has to be bad. It could, just...
No, it really shouldn't be, but they're going to F it up. I can guarantee it.
If you look at what...
I'd be happy if I'm surprised and I'm proven wrong, but sadly I don't think I will be. If I was a betting man, I would say the odds are definitely in favor of it being shit.
Because if you think about it, though, Lucasfilm, they own all of the LucasArts computer games, and they were very narrative driven, like games like Maniac Mansion, Loom, the Dig. They could do properties based off of those, like smaller budgeted properties. I think right now the Lucasfilm name is stained, don't you think?
Absolutely. But here's the thing, though. How long does it take to make a Star Wars movie? If they do it well, it's going to take them about 3 years. What I would do is I would put an end to everything they've got planned, right? I would clear house.
Yeah.
I would announce Kathleen Kennedy's leaving. I would announce a bunch of layoffs for Lucasfilm and say Star Wars is going on hiatus.
Yes.
But then I would put, I don't know, Jon Favreau in charge and say, okay, I want you to start working on a new trilogy. And they start making it in absolute, complete, old-fashioned Lucasfilm secret. The Blue Harvest type secret. Okay.
And then in 10 years' time, it gets released. But
I don't think 10 years. It'll take them 3 years to make it. You build it up for the 4th year and release it in the 5th year. That's how you do it. You don't want to go too long, because you literally will lose a whole generation. See, that's the problem. What you do is you and it's the first in a trilogy, but you don't mention that at first. You just mention when you start the promotion, you do a teaser of a new Star Wars movie, and you don't tell anyone anything. You don't tell them if it's taking the place of the sequel trilogy. You don't tell them if it's a sequel. You don't tell them if it's an alternate universe. You just whatever. Star Wars and a title and the music, and that's it. And that's how you do it. That's just what I think they should do. But I'll tell you something else. I still am going to say I think Favreau is the future of Star Wars. Why? Because he's still there. And Warner Brothers has been courting him, and he hasn't taken it.
That's true.
There's a reason he's holding out at Disney.
Age Member, look at how the lack of Star Trek in the 1970s created an explosion of profit and desire in the 80s and 90s. Look at how oversaturation destroyed it. And I think right now we're looking at oversaturation of Star Wars. Even with this Tales of the Jedi, it's like every other month there's a new Star Wars cartoon or show, and it's like, I think if they had just focused on the Mandalorian, making that as good as they could have made
I would be a little careful in drawing the comparison between Star Trek and Star Wars, because for all their similarities, there's some big differences. Star Trek always had great marketing potential that they didn't always capitalize on the way they should have, whereas Star Wars has done a great job of capitalizing on their marketing, but unfortunately they have in recent years been mismanaging that marketing. They've been saturating the market with a bunch of shit people don't want, like an oversized, 6-inch scale Rancor and a lightsaber for Mary Sue Sith chick that nobody wanted.
Yellow
instead of giving people what they actually want. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other on that one. But yeah, I'm going to basically say that bottom line for everything that I've been saying, forget about this sequel that is being touted. It's bullshit. This is more crap going on behind the scenes. This is what happens while Chapek sits in the corner playing with himself. I mean, playing 4D chess. And it's never actually going to happen. And until something does happen, Star Wars pretty much is a dead franchise. It really kind of is.
He makes point. The problem is Disney has $4.5 billion investment in Lucasfilm. They have red in their ledger. It needs to not be red. That's part of their drive. Yes, well, that was why I had the idea, is maybe try to find other properties at Lucasfilm that haven't basically been tainted like Star Wars has been, and give Star Wars a rest, and then you can bring it back after you've shown that Lucasfilm can make good properties.
The biggest problem with
good movies or TV shows, yeah.
The whole, I mean, I kind of agree with what he's saying there. Franchise fatigue happens not because, I mean, it's almost impossible to get franchise fatigue from a movie series, okay? If you're getting a new movie every 2 years or so, you're not going to get fatigue from that. That can go on forever. You can keep
like
that momentum going.
That's like every couple of years.
Sure, or you're Fast and Furious that you guys all seem to like so much. That might be a bad
example.
I mean, but Star Wars and Marvel, Star Wars and Marvel have unfortunately super saturated the market by going to multiple TV series as well as overlapping movies in the case of Marvel. Yeah, I can't keep up with all that shit. I just can't.
Marvel.
And unfortunately, not only are they saturating the market, they're saturating the market with shit that nobody wants. Nobody is buying the toys for the characters that Marvel's putting out. They're all peg warmers. Nobody cares about Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel or She-Hulk or any of this other. I think it's just friggin' brilliant. They got a series coming out now for Agatha Harkness.
Oh.
Friggin' brilliant. Yeah, that's going to go over like a Led Zeppelin.
Do you know what's funny? There should be a She-Hulk figure you can buy, but it's just her in her lawyer outfit and not as She-Hulk. And it says, yes, because I'm enough. And that should be what it's written under there.
Agatha Harkness. Think about it this way. From the point of view of a Marvel fan, they're putting out a series about the Fantastic Four's babysitter. I kid you not. Think about that one, folks. But you know what? I don't want to talk about Marvel. What I want to talk about is DC Comics.
Okay, too bad Warner owns Time After Time. I had my oldest watch that one recently, and it wouldn't be so right for a remake. That's Jack the Ripper versus H.G. Wells, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay. First off, I forgot to mention to you that I rearranged one of the stories in DC.
Oh, so did I just drop the wrong one?
Well, because it already spoils this article spoils the big stunner of the next
Okay,
one.
don't pay attention to what I just dropped. Which one should I be dropping?
The following one, the big one, which maybe you don't want to do that one now, but it's already mentioned in the other article. So,
Actually, I think this one is a good lead-in.
what, the Batman one? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
we can do that. Let me go down. I'll read from it. So, okay, give me a minute. Okay,
Let's give Auditor Dread the last word on the previous topic. The toys haven't been selling. You notice the Diamond Select Marvel Select line hasn't done any more figures. Neither Thor nor Doctor Strange, and that's the problem because those are the characters that do sell. I mean, let's face it, Spider-Man is always he's evergreen, right? But it's those big characters that people and you watch what happens when they start putting out what's it called, Black Panther figures. Oh. I'm telling you, I'm sorry, but the toys. You can say whatever you want about being politically correct and women power and all this stuff. I'm sorry, female action figures by and large do not sell. And all these female characters that they're shoving into Black Panther are not going to sell. It's just not, they're just not.
Wakanda forever.
And don't even get me started on culturally related stuff with Black Panther. That's going to make it even worse. It's going to be even worse.
Oh, I realized what the issue was with this article you have posted here. The link no longer exists. That's why I went to look for it again. Trouble is, it's a newly rewritten story that mentions the big stunner news. Okay.
That's fine because we're going to lead into it anyway, so it's fine.
All right. So, we'll get to the next article, but it's mentioned here. Earlier tonight, we learned that Suicide Squad director James Gunn and producer Peter Safran have been assigned new roles as co-chairman and co-executive officers of DC Studios, and Variety has now shared some interesting updates. While Gunn and Safran will oversee DC film, TV, and animation divisions, they won't be involved with Todd Phillips' upcoming Joker sequel, nor Matt Reeves' follow-up to The Batman, since neither of those projects are set in the main DCEU. The latter was recently given an official green light with Reeves and Todd penning the script. Unfortunately, it sounds like a completed screenplay is still a long way off, as the trade mentions that the sequel is not expected at theaters until 2025 at the earliest.
Pause right there because there's a lot to unpack in just what you just said. Okay.
All right.
So we have the next article we're going to be talking about is basically the announcement of a new leadership structure for DC on film. Okay, so this what's it called, the Joker and the Batman, sparkly bats, is not in the main DCEU as far as Warner Brothers is concerned. That's the first big point. The second point that compounds it is it's not any sequel to that Batman film is not expected until 2025. Those two things put together, let me translate Hollywood into, everyday speak. It ain't happening. This is not the future for DC as far as Warner Brothers is concerned right now.
So, are you saying that the Matt Reeves Batman movies are like the redheaded stepchild, to coin a phrase, of Warner Brothers right now? But
yeah, that's exactly it. Because there is a huge mandate from Zaslav that just as we spent a half hour ranting about Star Wars being a dead brand, we have Zaslav saying, I refuse to allow that to be the case for these properties. We need to get our shit together. And he is, in the next article we'll be talking about, this is how they're doing it. This is an article telling us this side thing is a side thing, and it's probably not even going to happen. We're pushing it out now another couple years. And this is after all the problems that it had to begin with. How it was put off. It was the coof. It was, the leads getting knocked up. It was, all this other crap going on behind the scenes. I'm not going to work out for my role. These people are hard to work with. It underperforms. It's not tied to anything else, so there's no momentum. we're pushing it off now to 2025. That's them saying we're not putting any investment in it. It doesn't have any support.
Okay, that's my DC issue. They always have multiple universes, and you can't connect anything in a cohesive way. I lose interest in the whole franchise when it's complicated like that. Well, I think they're trying to uncomplicate
Exactly. No, what he's saying is exactly right, and this is exactly what Zaslav is keying into and saying, I'm done with it. You know, I've been saying for the longest time, we've got like 4 different Batman franchises in the current zeitgeist. We got Sparkly Bats, we've got Batfleck, we've got 89 Batman that they're trying to bring back, and we've
theoretically in this Joker movie, if a Batman shows up, wouldn't that be a 4th Batman? If eventually in the the standalone Joker.
And we've also got it's still a very powerful Christian Bale Batman in fans' minds, so everything that they do besides that is being compared to that. So they need to get their shit together, and this multiverse stuff does not help them at all. So they need to start consolidating, and it's very clear that they've recognized that. And so really, I think the bottom line on this particular article is sequel not expected to arrive in theaters until 2025. That's Hollywood speak for, it's not going to happen. Oh, at the earliest, in quotes. That means 26, 27 maybe. No, this is not going to happen. And how many people are clamoring for this? How many people loved it so much? I desperately want to see, more of this that's not connected to anything else in the DC universe.
The interesting thing about the Reeves Batman is that it was originally supposed to be the Batfleck Batman. It was supposed to be like the Snyderverse version of a Batman story, but then it got turned into its own universe thing, I guess, under Walter Hamada. Is that the one who probably greenlit?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And now it's looked like they're trying to dial that back.
And that brings another aspect to it, right? Walter Hamada's out. Everything he was working on is done. So there is no one advocating for this over at Warner Brothers anymore, except maybe Matt Reeves. So you gotta start. If you're in Hollywood, you got to pay attention to the writing on the wall. If you don't, you're going to find yourself holding an empty sack.
So let's go to the DC Shocker next. What do you think, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah, because it leads right in, because that's the downside. That's, this is not happening. So now we get into what am happening, right? And this was a DC Shocker, but, everyone knows about it now, right?
The hierarchy of power in the DC universe. I didn't know about it until you sent it to me. Okay, the hierarchy of power in the DC universe.
You've been kind of preoccupied. Let's be honest.
Well, that's true. In a stunning turn of events, filmmaker James Gunn and producer Peter Safran have been tapped to lead DC's films, TV, and animation efforts as co-chairs and co-CEOs of DC Studios, a newly formed division at Warner Brothers that will replace DC Films. So I guess James Gunn is the Kevin Feige that Zaz was looking for.
Whether or not he is the one that they were looking for, we don't know, but that's who he is now. Yeah.
The unprecedented move in which a top director will assume a top executive post marks the end of a months-long search by Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav to replace DC Films boss Walter Hamada, who departed the studio last week. That search had all of Hollywood guessing and playing executive bingo for who would land one of the most coveted and challenging jobs in town. In recent weeks, Gunn and Safran responded at the Warner Brothers slot, meeting with Warner Brothers film co-chair Michael DeLuca about future projects, and according to sources, the initial overture to Safran and Gunn came from DeLuca over the summer, even as the studio was in shaky talks with producer Dan Lin to take the job. Gunn will focus on the creative side of things, while Safran will focus on the business and production side. Both are expected to continue to direct and produce projects, respectively. They will report directly to Zaslav and work closely with Warner Brothers film bosses DeLuca and Pamela Abdy. Sources say the deal runs 4 years and Gunn will be exclusive to DC. That means Disney, he won't be working for Disney. Interesting.
Yep.
The goal is for them not to be just producers, but to truly function as executives, even as Gunn will occasionally hone a movie. I'll just read the last paragraph. Unlike Marvel
Yep.
Studios, DC has multiple films set in separate creative universes, according to sources. Joker filmmaker Todd Phillips' work on the upcoming sequel, which goes in production later this year, will not fall under Gunn and Safran's purview, and instead will be overseen by DeLuca and Abdi. Matt Reeves, who worked under Hamada, has a budding universe based on the Batman movie. It is unclear whether whose purview Reeves' future projects would fall, but everything else going forward will be under Gunn and Safran's. You have something you want to say, or should I go first?
No, you can go first. That's fine.
Many people believed, I think this was rumors, that they thought Gunn was going to take over the MCU before his controversy a few years back with his the bad jokes he was telling on Twitter, and he got removed from Guardians of the Galaxy.
And let's be very clear about what that is. That was old stuff that somebody dug up on him because someone was, excuse the pun, gunning for him. Yes. You know, it's the way cancel culture works. It has been weaponized to undermine your competition for jobs. That's what's happening now. And it happened over there. And I think most people that are truly discerning go, so because of some really, really distasteful jokes that were made a decade ago, we're losing someone who's made us a great deal of money. What the hell?
Yeah. And I know he eventually did get rehired to do the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which I assume will be his final project for Disney, as he's now going to work for Warner Brothers. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about James Gunn. What do you think? Because I know he...
Well, I had the same reservations you did until I see that he's coming in with Peter Safran, right? If this was, another, big producer type guy, if this was a Kevin Feige type, it would be one person. This is someone coming in going, and by someone I mean James Gunn. He's coming in going, look, I can do the creative stuff, but I don't have the head for numbers. You should hire Peter Safran, who's actually his business manager. He's like, make us a package deal and you got something. And Zaslav probably is like, okay, that's pretty reasonable. Okay, yeah, I'll take the both of you. You handle the business, you handle the creative. Now, when it comes to creative, does that mean that James Gunn is going to be writing and directing all of these movies? No. There's certain ones that he is going, he knows his own mind. He knows what he's passionate about. He knows what he wants to do. He can also look at the big picture. I think he's going to bring in people and go, you know what, you'd make a good writer, you'd make a good director for this project that I don't really think would be good for me. I think you would be, just make sure that you consider this and this because this is what we're doing with the overall interconnected blah, 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 blah. So in other words, like what Favreau did back in the early days of the Marvel Universe.
Right.
I think that's the better. Everyone keeps saying the Kevin Feige of Warner Brothers. No, you should be looking for a Jon Favreau for the Warner Brothers universe. In fact, as we said earlier in the Star Wars piece, Zaslav actually reached out to Favreau and tried to hire him. And for whatever reason, he chose not to. I've already speculated on why I think he decided not to. But if that's what they were going for, they know what they're trying to get. I guess they saw that in James Gunn. And I think James Gunn is going to be a pretty good one. I like what he's done. I mean, I let's face it. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. Didn't care much for what was the Warner Brothers film that he did for DC?
Oh,
didn't he?
The Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad. But let's face it, nobody could have.
Which one though? There were two Suicide Squad movies, you know.
I didn't like either of them. Okay,
Oh, okay.
but that has more to do with, you know, building a. You could have built a great house, but if you build it on sand, it's going to fall apart. And I think that's exactly what that was.
You know what I would actually think that James Gunn could direct? A Justice League International movie.
I would love to see that. I really would. That would be freaking brilliant. But as I always say on these things, all we're doing is reporting the news and giving our personal takes on these. If you want something a little bit more in depth, you want numbers, you go to Valiant Renegade. You want studio inside information, especially on this one, I would go check out Midnight's Edge. They've done a couple of really good breakdowns and analyses based on some sources they have behind the scenes. I think that would be a good idea for y'all. I'm just saying what I see going on here.
The MCU ended the moment Alan Horn fired James Gunn.
That was a big part of it, yeah. But I would argue that was the second step. I'd say the first step was Favreau leaving to do Star Wars. And Kevin Feige taking over. Kevin Feige coasted. And he's been coasting downhill ever since.
And now we have She-Hulk and
Yeah, exactly. I've actually heard a lot of people say too that James Gunn would probably be good for like a resurgence of the Green Lantern. But at the same time, I don't think so, because that would be tapping into the same creative pool that he did for Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's already done it. He doesn't want to do it again. At least that's the impression I'm under. I don't want to speak for the man. I don't know him. Who knows what he's got in mind? We're going to have to see. We're just letting you know he's the guy. But what this does bring up, Boomer, is a lot of people questioning, what does this mean for the Snyderverse? And I think that's a very interesting question as we move into the next article, which is Henry Cavill is leaving The Witcher. Oh. And what does that mean for the DC Universe?
All right, let's read from it. Henry Cavill is leaving Netflix's The Witcher after season 3. The streaming service announced today. Oh yeah, this was a gentleman at Forbes not too happy. Widely regarded as the best thing about the fantasy drama and a crucial part of its success, the departure will no doubt shock fans of the series. Cavill will be replaced by Liam Hemsworth, brother to Thor actor Chris Hemsworth.
I don't think it's a bad casting. It's not a bad casting.
I'm trying to remember what I've seen Liam Hemsworth in recently.
Was he the one that was in Cabin in the Woods?
No, I think that was.
Or was that Chris?
Okay, I think that was Chris before Thor. Because remember, it was shot a few years before Thor, so he looked a little different. But yeah.
Okay.
My journey as Geralt. Okay, so Cavill has been replaced by. Okay, my journey as Geralt Rivera has been filled with both monsters and adventures. And alas, I'll be laying down my medallion and my swords for season 4. Cavill announced on Instagram, in my stead, the fantastic Mr. Liam Hemsworth will be taking up the mantle of the White Wolf. As with the greatest of literary characters, I pass the torch with reverence for the time spent embodying Geralt and enthusiasm to see Liam's take on this most fascinating and nuanced of men. Liam, good sir, this character has such a wonderful depth to him. Enjoy diving in and seeing what you can find. As a Witcher fan, I am over the moon about the opportunity to play Geralt of Rivia. Hemsworth said, "Is it Rivia?"
I don't know.
I always said it was okay. Hemsworth said also, I don't watch The Witcher, obviously. Okay,
I don't either.
Henry Cavill has been an incredible Geralt, and I'm honored that he's handing the reins and allowing me to take up the White Wolf's blades for the next chapter of his adventure. Henry, I've been a fan of yours for years and was inspired by what you brought to this beloved character. I may have some big boots to fill, but I'm truly excited to be stepping into the Witcher world. I'll say this, at least there's mutual respect between the actors and they're not tearing each other down. That's good. That's how you handle yourselves in public, people.
Well, and there's no reason for there to be animosity here. You've got someone moving into a role and being grateful for it. So he's not going to crap all over any fans who like the previous guy. And the previous guy is, let's face it, we know, this is not speculation. He's going on to do Superman again. He did his cameo at the end of Black Adam, and that's why he's stepping away from this, because he's signed on for a deal with Warner Brothers.
Said, frankly, The Witcher was already showing signs of weakness in season 2. It's possible Cavill doesn't want to go down.
There's
with
a
the
big
ship
thing there too, yeah.
and is getting okay, but perhaps there is also creative differences we don't know about. Perhaps he will simply be too busy playing Superman in the newly rebranded DCU.
No, not perhaps. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Netflix is spinning this as exciting news, but it doesn't. But it's actually the funniest furthest from it. No matter how well Hemsworth does in the role, audiences will have a deeply difficult time accepting him as Gerald. Okay.
Now,
This
keep in
person
mind,
knock the actor now. Okay.
like you said, I haven't watched this show either. I don't have a vested interest in it. I never played the games. I've heard some things about things they've changed. I understand as a fan how that could be annoying. But as a completely objective observer on this thing with no particular interest, I hope it does really well, because this would be a great example of you can recast a role. For whatever reason, I hate the idea that a show falls apart because one guy wants to leave and go play Superman. You know?
Other address says, I take it as two things. The Witcher series went off the rails at the last season when the showrunner killed off a major character. I take Cavill wanted to abandon ship after season 3. Second, Cavill probably took a big contract for multiple Superman films with Warner Brothers.
Yep. I think Auditor Dread is absolutely right on with that. And I think that the only reason that Cavill didn't leave when, a season earlier was because it was a steady paycheck. He's got something else to go to, so he's definitely going to jump ship. Better deal. And as you and I were talking about in the green room, I know that people have their strong opinions about Cavill as Superman. It's really seeming like, this new James, this is not, although it is technically the same Superman from the Snyderverse, I don't think it is, in a way. I think this is a pivot. Just like technically, Kirk and Spock and all of them in Star Trek 2 were the same characters from Star Trek the Motion Picture, I think we're going to see a great big pivot. And everything about it is going to be changing. And I think as fans, we need to at least be open to that. Unlike certain other channels, certain ideological channels that can't get past their own biases, certain academicians, and man-child fans, have absolutist views on these things. I say give the actor a chance. It's not his fault that Snyder did what he did. Warner Brothers is going under DC on film is going under new management. Let's see what they bring.
Let's see. Hopefully Superman is written better this time. Yeah, well, we'll see. And Gerald or Rivia. For some reason I always said Rivera. I don't know why. Like I said, I'm not a Witcher fan. I have nothing against it. Maybe I would if I got around to playing the game, but I know it's also been a series of books. I am going to say this, though. Wasn't James Gunn involved in Brightburn?
Well, sure, but, that's a completely different story, right? It has nothing to do with... if nothing else, it's a dark parody.
That's true. It's a parody. So, yeah. So, and we don't even know if James Gunn will be directly directing a Superman movie. So,
and I'd almost say, well, good. He got it out of his system. He told the story he wanted to tell. As long as he's not doing it with Superman, good.
Actors don't usually have a lot of control on how the character is portrayed. Well, here's another problem. The director can still go in and change things after the actor's done. Do you remember the big controversy in the original Flash Gordon when they redubbed his voice?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and but I mean, look, it's just like any other working environment, right? If you've got a good, healthy work relationship between people, regardless of who has official say on things, whether or not it's in an actor's contract to have right of refusal or script approval and stuff like that. A good producer, a good director will listen to people before making his decision, and if I would argue, even though I never actually saw it, over on the Ms. Marvel side, I heard that the actress that played Ms. Marvel really knew her character, really knew the comics, and she had some problems with some things in the script and wasn't really listened to that well. Well, I get the impression that maybe the work suffered because of it. If you've got someone who comes in who really knows their stuff, I mean, don't give them carte blanche, but at the same time, maybe listen to somebody who knows a thing or two about the subject matter.
So we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, it does look like Zaslav is at least trying to build something new out of the DC expanded universe. I mean, what do you think? Is it going to be? What's going to be the starting point for this? Because I don't. Is it Black Adam, or is Black Adam still a holdover from when Hamada was there? I mean, what is the starting point?
Well, I would argue there isn't a starting point. I would say it's a gradient, right? That's how you pivot, right? I would say that yes, this Black Adam still takes place technically in what came before, but it is the starting point for whatever is coming up. And I think they're going in a new direction. I think you're going to have whatever problems you had with the Snyderverse. They're gonna fudge the canon of it, and they're gonna just move on from there. As far as anybody's concerned, Superman's a hero, Batman's a hero, Wonder Woman's a hero. The world loves them, and the villains are the villains. And let's see what stories they tell from this point on.
Okay, so we'll see.
And I'm not saying necessarily that it's going to be, all sunshine and roses. It could be crap too, but we definitely are under new management. Let's give them a try and see what happens.
They do want these movies to make money. I'll say that. So hopefully there won't be any agenda pushing in these movies either.
I honestly feel like with Zaslav, that's a good bet.
All right, so we'll wait and see. So speaking of Super Mario,
yeah, I just dropped it. You might want to share a visual aid on this one. Do you think you can manage that, Boomer, without crashing your computer or whatever? If you want, I'll pull it up and then you can share my screen,
and I'll share your screen for now. I could do it, but my desktop is cluttered right now. But I'll read the article, okay?
Okay.
Or should I show the visual aid first? Because I'm a little bit upset over this.
Are you really? You feel strongly about this one?
I feel very strongly about this.
Okay, let me share. Let me go to StreamYard. And how do I do this? I present.
Wait, what? You will wait for this.
Share screen.
Okay?
Here we go. Share. There you go.
I need to see this. Okay. I was on board with this movie until recent news.
This is what did it for you. This is why
I am now.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be organizing a boycott until they fix this mess. Many fans are commenting on Mario's butt in the first poster for the upcoming Super Mario Brothers animated film, insisting that it is way too flat. Following the release of the first poster for the upcoming Super Mario Brothers animated film, fans are insisting that Mario's butt is too flat. Yeah, okay. The first poster for the movie features Mario gazing out across the Mushroom Kingdom. However, fans were quick to point out that something felt off about everyone's favorite plumber. Multiple fans took to Twitter to complain about the size of Mario's butt. Several edited images have since been shared showing the plumber with much with a much more substantial backside, claiming that Mario would barely be able to make a jump 3 feet with his current design. So a redesign is necessary to ensure his actions in the movie are realistic. These complaints are reminiscent of the public outrage that ensued over Sonic's film design. In 2019, Sonic the Hedgehog was ready and set to sprint into theaters after release of the film's first trailer. However, fans all around the world expressed their thoughts on the Blue Bird's horrendous design, which gave Sonic's much smaller eyes than fans were used to seeing. Fans insisted that Sonic's designs were more creepy than it was cute, so director Jeff Fowler and his team redesigned the character with what appeared to be a much more satisfying design for audiences. What is not seen in the poster, at least for this Mario film, is the front side of Mario. However, a McDonald's employee recently posted an image of the character on Discord, and many believed it to be the movie version. This version, which will be voiced by Chris Pratt, seems to have features that are more in proportion with the rest of his body. Therefore, it could perhaps be a creative decision that Mario's butt is smaller in the film, consequently appearing more realistic. I don't know. What do we think on this, chat? I mean, this is a...
I love what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing Auditor Dread. Mario has no badunk. Deleted Seeds, FFS, for fuck's sake.
Hey.
Damn, this generation's been too obsessed with people's cakes. Yeah.
With people's cakes. I mean, come on. That's a flat butt. I don't want to see that on Mario. We need the rump roast. Don't you think?
You know what? Honestly, let's be serious here. This is very, very different from the Sonic face thing. The face is a huge deal, right? The amount of junk you have in the trunk is, this is also supposed to be. Isn't this supposed to be like an origin story for the character? The first time he's pulled into. Yeah, maybe he's going to put on weight over time, right?
Like maybe he eats a super mushroom and the butt just pops out.
That actually would be kind of funny.
Yes.
That would be kind of funny. Let's say hi to Mr. Matchstick, who just stopped in. You kind of missed. We were doing a lot of DC talk a little while ago. You're going to have to rewind and check it out.
About Mario's buttocks for the last 2 hours, just so you know. Okay, this is important.
He's right, though. He says, tell me about it. I'm a Nightwing fan. These people are obsessed with his butt. Yeah, I don't really understand it. Why is everyone so obsessed with Nightwing's butt?
I can't really be obsessed with Mario's butt because it's not there. It's non-existent.
For fuck's sake.
This is not him. This is not him.
I will say something else. I remember when we had all of these, the Lou Albano and all the others playing him. I was like, this guy runs up and down scaffolding, jumping over flaming barrels, swinging a hammer, taking on a giant monkey, and he's still fat. You'd think all of the times he's had to save Princess What's-Her-Name, he'd lose some weight and, tone up a bit.
Oh, Princess What's-Her-Name. No, actually, it's Princess Peach. In the Earthworm Jim games, the name of it was Princess What's-Her-Name was the damsel you had to rescue in Earthworm Jim.
Okay.
Actually, Princess What's-Her-Name. That was her name.
Yeah. No, I like this. They could get She-Hulk to twerk, but they can't get Mario's backside correct. Fail.
This is a fail. I'm removing.
This is actually, though. I mean, I don't know. Do you really feel strongly about this? I mean,
no, I don't feel strongly about this. Actually, I will say this.
I really think this is just another thing that they're grasping at straws because they want to. Just like all the fans that were like, don't let the incels win when it came to Sonic. It's the same thing here. They're looking for reasons to drum up crap.
Controversy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That's just my take on it.
I don't know, though. We'll see. I think there's going to be a change.org, perhaps an organized boycott.
Oh, my gosh.
They bring back his luscious rear. I think that needs to happen. Are we done talking about Mario's butt?
Well, I am. I don't have anything else to say.
I don't know why
it.
you sent this article to me. I think it's kind of a waste of time for my stream.
You ass! You're the one that sent it to me. That was an intentional reference. Me calling him an ass, by the way.
Of course. Okay, this actually wasn't supposed to be for the stream. I was just sending this to you in general, but maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Wall Street loses over $200 million.
After report from Amazon. Yeah, that's
This is bad, right? Oh wait,
what?
give Mario back as Kim Kardashian back. I know it's ridiculous. Anyway, let's get back to the end of the world.
The fact is, though, if you're going to give him a larger backside, you got to give him a. I'm surprised no one's talking about his belly. You know, the two kind of go together when it comes to Mario.
Yeah, kind of. On October 27, over 200 billion in U.S. stock market value went up in smoke in extended trade on Thursday after a weak forecast from Amazon added to a string of downbeat quarterly reports from big tech companies. Amazon's stock tumbled 17% after the bell, wiping out 190 billion. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's a big difference there. And
that's a lot of money. Billions is a lot of money.
also, after the bell, Apple shares fell about 1%, erasing about 30 billion of its stock market value. What's going on here? This doesn't sound good. The latest in a string of poor quarterly results from some of Wall Street's most widely owned companies underscores deep worries about the health of the global economy as central banks raised interest rates in the battle against inflation. Big tech.
Yeah. So let me cut through some of this rather dry, numbers talk here. Okay, they're talking about kind of a bubble bursting with big tech. And the reason I put this under streaming is because it kind of relates to a lot of what we've been talking about with streaming, right? Just a little while ago, I was talking about how there's a saturation point, and you can only get so many subscribers. There's only so big a pool to draw from. After you hit that point, you can't bring in more. The only way to bring in more revenue is to start bringing in other investors, licensees, and advertisers, right? And on the other side of it, I was talking about them ginning up the numbers, right? They're talking about all these subscribers we have, and they give you raw numbers of subscribers. How many of them are actually paying subscribers? That does not equate to the actual profits you're making. If you're giving away a subscription with a subscription to another service or to to a cell phone package or something like that, that's not money. And if you're telling investors it is, they're making investments with you under false pretenses. This is the kind of stuff that led to the fall of Enron, okay? Ginning up the numbers and rooking the books, okay? And it can't last forever because eventually you're found out, and eventually the investors pull out. And it's looking like a lot of that is starting to happen with tech services. We're also seeing it. This relates directly to what's going on with Twitter, right? We just had a buyout of Twitter by Elon Musk and all the talk about bots over there. How many, and people that are advertising on Twitter are doing it based on the numbers that Twitter has been reporting. These are all the people that use Twitter. These are all the eyes that are going to see it. Oh, wait a minute. A large percentage of these people aren't real people. They're just bots being used to influence opinions. That's not conducive to our business. I think there's going to be, it's a bubble that's about to burst. And we're seeing it right here in this article as they talk about Amazon losing so much. Go on. I'm sorry. Pick it up where you wanted to pick it up.
Well, I want to also say that there's another company losing money. Thursday's late night reports also found disappointing results from Facebook owner Meta Platforms that earlier sent the stock plummeting 25%. Thursday's drop left Meta's stock market value at $260 billion, with one-time behemoth now at the 20th most valuable company on Wall Street.
So pause right there. On a personal note, I've been very clear. I haven't been promoting a Facebook account. I haven't been using Facebook in a while. And this past week, I completely closed down my Facebook ID because I spent a week trying to keep it open and someone trying to hack it. And they would keep hacking into my account and Facebook would shut it down and I'd have to go in and change the password. And I couldn't even post there because apparently there was a bunch of posts that broke Facebook's terms of service or whatever. I have no idea what they were because I wasn't allowed to see them. And when I'd look, I saw that it was some bot account in China that had taken over my Facebook account. I said, screw it. So I just closed it down completely. So this is another example of what's going on with Facebook and so many others.
But I thought like Silicon Valley, they rule the roost, and now it looks like they're hurting. So I'm getting worried that what this is spelling for the overall economy. Is everything just going down? I mean, this is just...
Well, that's at least part of it, right? I mean, we are definitely in a recession, depression. I don't know how it officially comes down, but with inflation as high as it is, with gas prices as high as they are, war in Europe, that I won't even get political about why we're even involved in that crap again, wasting our resources and paying more for stuff than we should because we're getting involved in everyone else's business. I'm seeing a lot of the Carter administration all over again. Things are going to get bad, people. Let's just put it that way. And when things start to get lean, the schmoozing and fakery ends up being revealed, and bubbles start to pop. So yeah, I think I think a lot of people have seen it coming for a long time, and I'm going to say something that people always bristle at, but it is an absolute truism. There is no such thing as too big to fail. I see so many people say Disney will never fail. They are too big to fail. It's not just about Star Wars. It's not just about Marvel. Too big to fail. No, there is no such thing as too big to fail. In fact, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. I can name a whole bunch of companies that were Pan Am was assumed to be too big to fail. And if you watch certain movies from the 70s, they were used as a company that would still exist into the year 2000 and beyond in sci-fi because Pan Am was such a big company. They went bankrupt and they're gone now. Most of you don't even know what Pan Am is.
Yeah. It sounds like a person's name.
Yeah, Pan Am, not Pam.
Pam Ann. There you go.
Yeah.
I know all y'all were joking about Mario. The whole reason I brought that article up was I thought it was ridiculous that people were not only they were spending time on looking at Mario's backside, and it's like,
I'm just glad he wears coveralls because he's a plumber, I mean, if we're going to talk about his backside, come on.
That might explain the origin of his coveralls. He was probably bending down too much.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
Okay, but anyways, I don't know though. I mean, what's this going to bode for streaming in Hollywood in general if the economy goes?
I think it's exactly what I was saying earlier in the stream. I think that there's got to be some realism here. I think the hiding the numbers has got to change. I think as the adults start entering the room and the investors take over, and they start relying more on advertisers, the numbers are going to get more honest. And I think that as a result, and we're already starting to see it in some areas, the woke bullshit that nobody wants and nobody's spending money on is going to go away because it's not bringing in money. Look, if political correct woke bullshit was a winning factor and the mass majority of people were saying, yes, I want more of that in my movies, well, it would never go away. But we all know that's not the case, and it's bearing out. So, but that's just a small part of why tech is failing, and people are losing confidence in the tech market, and it can't last. And honestly, when it comes to things like Amazon, that's in the streaming service, that's in the delivery business, that's in the shopping and everything that they're involved in, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't eventually see an antitrust coming in and breaking them up the way they broke up Ma Bell back in the Late 60s, early 70s? I forget.
But what would that spell for the Rings of Power?
Don't get me started.
5 seasons guaranteed. That's what I heard. Okay. So, anyways, I think that about wraps it up for tonight.
Good timing. That's the 2-hour mark. We made it.
I'm surprised. I thought we'd go on a lot longer, but
considering how long I went on Friday, I just went on and on and on and on, and Michael seemed willing to let me keep going. So
yeah, if you guys did not catch Troy's stream on Friday, check it out. He had a very big deal guest. Michael from Retro Blasting was.
I would not blame you for watching it on like 1.5 speed, or watching it in segments because it was a long. I think we went on for 4 hours.
Cut that up into segments, maybe that might be an idea. If you, I don't know.
I could, but I got a lot of videos that I have planned to do. So
don't worry about it then.
I don't know. I got a lot to work on. Yeah, it was definitely worth it. And that's a guest I really, really want to get back. Honestly, every guest I've had, I'd like to get back, but there's only so many weeks in the year, you know.
Who do you have coming up this Friday?
This Friday will be The Vagrancy Horror, a short story horror writer who releases his stories on YouTube in a very how would I put it, a very
like a
entertaining way, very creepy, yeah. And we're going to talk about his stories, their interconnectivity, what it's like to put out content in that fashion, what he's got planned. I know he does convention appearances and so forth. Cool. He's got a character built around his character. I hate to make this comparison, but think Doomcock, you know. So I think you'll find it very interesting.
Like the Scary Mask?
Yeah. I think that's a great way of looking at it. Yeah.
Not a ventriloquist dummy, is it?
No, it's. I
don't like that. No.
Yeah. You'll find, and that'll kind of bring us out of the Halloween season, even though I am planning on a video sometime in the next month or two where I will be talking about the tradition of scary ghost stories at Christmas time.
It's an English tradition.
It is. It's a very old. It actually goes back to before Christmas, if you want to get real technical about it.
Because of the winter.
Exactly, and I will talk more about why, and I will even tie it into Klingon lore.
You know, it's interesting. I tend to watch a lot of the more modern style horror movies in the winter, whereas I save my gothic horror movies for like October. Like I'll do like slasher movies I watch in the winter because I kind of feel winter is a good time to watch horror movies. In fact, you know what one I used to love watching in the winter? Dawn of the Dead.
There you go. And as we're looking a little bit further out, thank you for bringing it up. Mr. Matchstick will have the two of us on his channel once again, where we will be talking about a couple more DC animated universe stories.
Yeah. Did you say Netter's a big Green Lantern fan?
She is a big Green Lantern fan.
She may like a couple of those movies. They actually go a lot into Green Lantern and New Frontier.
That's why I have them in our collection, because I got them specifically for Netter, that Green Lantern First Flight. Yeah.
David Boreanaz, I think, plays the voice of Hal Jordan in Justice League New Frontier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Angel from the Buffyverse, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Well done, Geeky Gents. Well, thank you. Okay.
I know we went through this on Friday, but I've slept since then, so I've forgotten. Monday and Wednesday, anything with soundtracks with Birdman?
He may have a Batman show on Monday. Check out his channel. They're fun little. I know he's been doing horror movie soundtracks discussion as of late. Wednesday, if all goes well, we should be doing a rewatch of Steven Spielberg's The War of the Worlds. Well, Steven Spielberg's H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. It's like Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's The War of the Worlds.
Yep.
The one that Spielberg did, and Big Al should be joining us for that as well.
Oh, there you go. And speaking of Big Al, this Saturday on Big Al Presents, we will be doing a watch party of... Oh, I'm drawing a blank. What was it again? Willow, right. I just said it earlier in the show. There you go. Willow.
Man.
And that's the weekend review for us. Also, later, so looking farther out, looking out to December, was it December 8th? Or 9th. I think it was December 9th. Whatever Friday that is, the second week in December. Aged Boomer will be my primary guest. We will have an additional special guest, Emmy Award-winning meteorologist Katie Nicolau, where we will be discussing the recent unpleasantness that Aged Boomer has been through with Hurricane Ian.
He's going to hurricanes.
We're going to be talking about his struggle and what he went through, and Katie will talk about what happened with that hurricane and bring her meteorological insight for us. So I've been promising everybody that we would fill you in on all those details. That will be happening in early December.
Looking forward to that.
In the meantime, are you, even though you're not currently moved back into your house, are you feeling up and running? You're going to be doing the YouTube thing regular going forward now, or
hopefully,
are you still playing it by ear week to week?
Still kind of playing it by ear, but it gets better with each week. But like I said, we're going to have... Here's the problem. There's still some hurdles to get through before things get back to semi-normal. But I'm hoping to keep being able to come on Friday at least, and hopefully do the stream with Matchstick. And I should be able to do the stream with Matchstick, no issues. But usually at night things slow down anyway, so I'm usually able to do the streams at night. But like I said, I'll let you know if Spurs and I can't make it for something. But hopefully going forward, things should be getting back to more normal, some normalcy.
Good.
Okay, cool.
All righty.
Well, you have a good week, and all of you in the chat have a good week. Happy Halloween.
Yep.
Enjoy.
Don't eat too much candy tomorrow.
Eat as much candy as you want.
Okay. Don't say I didn't warn you.
You need to just take pixie sticks and just do them like 5 at a time, and just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
I would say pixie sticks are meant to be freebase, but then you're just squirting caramel into your veins.
Did you ever see the movie American Splendor?
Is that the one with what's his name? American Splendor.
It was about the guy in indie comics.
I think I did. Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, I think I did.
There's a funny scene in the beginning where like kids are dressed up as Green Lantern and Batman, Superman, and then it's just him looking like he does, because that's all he, as a kid, he doesn't come out in a costume, because of course the comics he writes are about himself in his life. They're like,
yeah.
It's not like yeah. I don't know. It was an interesting movie, but anyway.
Cool.
Okay. All right, y'all have a good week, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye. Happy Halloween.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
RVP car, thank you. RVP car.
There you go.
Bye-bye.